Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati tamashloke bhaktira bhavati naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart, it becomes destroyed practically to nil. And loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Utamashloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya lokasya Dhanyam swasyayanam mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There is a second short mantra. We have to listen carefully. Normally I have it on the board, but we have something else. Kindly repeat after me. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukham karoti vasalam pagom langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Actually, we have a verse on the board, 7th canto, chapter 11, text 7. Chapter 11 is the beginning of Narada Muni's presentation on the subject matter of Varnashrama Dharma. Narada Muni was visiting the residence of Yudhishthira Maharaj, and Yudhishthira Maharaj, although a great exalted personality, as a humble householder presented himself as not, as actually he was eager to hear naturally from an exalted personality like Narada Muni on the subject matter of Dharma, specifically Varnashrama Dharma. We're just going to read this verse. I won't read the entire purport, but based on this verse, there's a presentation that I want to make that will come up after we repeat this verse. Hare Krishna. My glasses? Yeah. Dharma Mulam hi Bhagavan Sarva Vedo Mayo Harihi Smritam Chatabidam Rajan Jena Prasidati Dharma Mulam hi Bhagavan Sarva Veda Mayo Harihi Smritam Chatabidam Rajan Yena Chatma Prasidati Dharma Mulam hi Bhagavan Sarva Veda Mayo Harihi Smritam Chatabidam Rajan Yena Chatma Prasidati. Ladies, Matajis. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The Supreme Being, the personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhishthira, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of this religious principle, everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body. Kindly repeat after me. The Supreme Being, the personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhishthira, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of this religious principle, everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body. I should read something from the purport. Purport. As stated by Maharaj, Dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavat pranitam. Maharaj, the representative of the Lord who takes care of the living beings after their death, gives his verdict as to how and when the living being will change his body. He is the authority, and he says that the religious principles consist of the codes and laws given by God. No one can therefore manufacture religion, and therefore manufactured religious systems are rejected by the followers of the Vedic principles. In Bhagavad-gita 15:15 it is said, Vedaisya sarvair aham eva vedya. Vedic knowledge means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Therefore, whether one speaks of the Vedas, scriptures, religion, or the principles of everyone's occupational duty, all of them must aim at understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam 1-6 therefore concludes, Savai pumsam paro dharmo jatho bhakti radhoksaje ahaituki pratihata yayatma suprasidati. In other words, religious principles aim at learning how to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. That service must be unmotivated and unchecked by material conditions. Then human society will be happy in all respects. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada continues and makes reference, important reference, to both Shruti and Smriti. And this brings me to the essence of what I would like to discuss and present this morning. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. It works. Doesn't work all the time, but it's working this morning. So very happy to be here at ISKCON Mumbai. ISKCONJuhu in Mumbai. Very happy to see our Bhima Prabhu and other exalted personalities who have been here for decades, yes, serving very wonderfully. SriSriRadhaRasbihariTemple and all the devotees. I chose this verse this morning because it speaks about dharma. And as the verse explains, as Narada Muni explains, dharma smritam chatadvidam rajan. Dharma is meant to be remembered and meditated upon by the devotees. Devotee means someone who follows dharma. And of course in the Bhagavatam, we have heard many times, Srila Prabhupada explain how dharma is what differentiates a human being from animal or non-human beings. Animals cannot understand about dharma. Now what is very interesting, what all of us should find very interesting, is that dharma needs to be understood on two main levels. When we speak of dharma, generally, like when Prabhupada went to the Western countries, he would sometimes explain that dharma doesn't mean religion. Normally we think of dharma as something spiritual, religion. And of course, Srila Prabhupada was exemplary in that he in a very wonderful way, very clear way, explained what is called the universal principles of dharma, which the verse was mentioned in his purport. what we generally less understand, in my humble observation and opinion, is that we as devotees obviously are especially focused on Srimad Bhagavatam and of course Bhagavad-gita, where Bhakti is the foremost, Bhakti is the essence, Bhakti is the topmost and the goal ultimately. However, what we generally fail to understand is that there is a whole aspect of dharma. In other words, dharma needs to be understood in terms of spiritual swadharma and material swadharma, both of which are eternal and very deep, profound, and I would also say confidential subject matters. Of course, we know spiritual subject matter as presented by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad-gita. It is the topmost knowledge, Rajavidya, Rajaguyam, so very confidential. My contention, and what I'd like to present this morning, is that not only is spiritual knowledge confidential and very scientific, but also material dharma, material knowledge pertaining to what is meant to be our occupational duties. So this is related actually with both Shruti and Smriti. It helps us, it's helped me, and hopefully it will help all of you as well to understand the difference. When we speak of spiritual swadharma, our acharyas refer to that as Jaiva Dharma. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur has a book, Jaiva Dharma, a very famous book that is studied, meant to be studied by Vaishnavas, and that is really focused on the spiritual dimension of dharma, which is the essence of which is bhakti. And as Lord Chaitanya nicely presented, Jiver Swarup Krishna Nityadas. So this we generally speak about more, and we are more familiar with that aspect of dharma. My presentation this morning, which is not just my presentation, but I want to speak on the other aspect of dharma, which is materials for dharma, which is actually presented in the Bhagavatam throughout the various Vedic literatures as Varnashrama dharma. And I know some of you may say, Varnashrama? It's not an easy topic to discuss. And I would dare also state, it is not an easy topic to understand. And I must admit, I must confess that in my devotional career, Hare Krishna, in my devotional career, it took me 25 years to begin understanding about Varnashrama Dharma. It took me, actually, it happened after I left India. I was in India for a number of years, and then somehow, by Krishna's arrangement, a few more insights. So, here on the board, right, you can see, right, make Vrindavan villages. Why did I choose this title? In the short time that we have, I will try to highlight how Vedic culture is, of course, centered in its highest level in terms of developing Krishna Prem, our love for Krishna. But we all know, anyone who's practicing Krishna consciousness, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes actually many years, if not many lifetimes, to actually come to that complete, totally disconnected, with level, being totally disconnected with the modes of material nature. And therefore, our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, as previous Acharyas as well, spoke of the need and the importance to introduce and implement Varnashrama Dharma. as a means to actually help us even more quickly advance in our spiritual swadharma. As a matter of fact, there is a very important instruction in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, 1.9.26. You can check it out later on. That chapter is dealing with grandfather Bhishma Dev's leaving his body. He's on his bed of arrows. And the very first instruction he gives to Yudhishthira Maharaj, a simple instruction. He tells him, you kindly make sure that everyone in your under you, your praja, are following the principles of Varna and Ashrama. And what's amazing, I mean, that in itself is I would say remarkable, that very first instruction. And of course, Grandfather Bhishma Dev goes on for like many weeks to instruct Yudhishthira Maharaj. But in the purport, in the very first line of the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes the following, and I paraphrase, statement that Lord Krishna has created this system, isn't it, 413 of Varna and Ashrama, Chatur Varna Maya Sristam, to accelerate the development of our spiritual qualities. In other words, when we follow that system, when we know about that system, then it will help us to advance more quickly in Krishna consciousness. And all of us, obviously, want to advance more quickly in Krishna consciousness so that we can get out of this material world and, go back to the spiritual world, reestablish our loving relationship with Krishna. So there's a few very important principles that are needed to understand about Varnashrama Dharma, that we as devotees in general, not everyone, in general, and as a society, we are lacking in some of that understanding, my humble observation. And a core aspect or principle has to do with the fact that Vedic culture is primarily an agrarian-based culture. Agrarian-based culture means village-based culture. That's why make Vrindavan villages. As a matter of fact, Prabhupada told us, make like Vrindavan. Make your life like Vrindavan. And ultimately, Prabhupada wanted us to establish self-sufficient communities. A number of temples, Juhu being one of them, has a community, has land, has cows, are able to provide everyday wonderful ahimsa milk from protected cows. And the idea is that Prabhupada wanted that all of our temples are at that standard. He wanted that every temple, it's one of many standing orders given by Srila Prabhupada, every single temple should have within a 50-kilometer radius a community where we have cows, where we grow our own food, and we offer the best, isn't it, to Krishna. So this is one of the core principles that, Prabhupada spoke about 50% of his mission. Let me ask the question, how many present here have never heard this statement that Srila Prabhupada made regarding 50% of my mission is still unfulfilled, that of establishing Varnashrama Dharma? Who has never heard this before? Don't be shy. Okay, if you all have heard it before, great. Makes my work a little easier. So, I'm just going to go through a few slides that will hopefully bring out some aspects of that mission, of that yet unfulfilled mission. And one of those principles is understanding that all of us, and in many ways, especially those who are in cities, one of the purposes of creating or establishing city temples was to actually introduce this dimension as well of our overall mission in terms of spreading Krishna consciousness. Actually, this is the first of 5 seminars. I've been traveling for the last so many months, to different temples in different countries, trying to kind of create awareness as to this aspect of Prabhupada's mission. And it is important for all of us, regardless of where we are, and we can begin at some level or other, regardless of where we may be living as well. We went through this, so we're talking about Daiva Varnashrama Dharma, isn't it? This material aspect. And of course, this is what Vrindavan 5,000 years ago, or even any village we visit. This is a picture from Cambodia, where we can see there are no cars, no buses. I mean, people are living very simple life. We see cows, agriculture, because there are 4 Vedic sciences that are absolutely necessary to actually revive Vedic culture, to revive especially Vedic agrarian culture. What are those 5 sciences? Most of us are familiar with, as devotees, only one of those. And I'll explain why. Those especially who attend Bhagavatam class are familiar with the first of those 4, and that is called Anvikshiki, which means the science of philosophy. In all traditional Vedic education, it's just like when Krishna and Balaram, after leaving Vrindavan, were sent to Gurukul. They first learned Vedic philosophy. The second of the 4 Vedic sciences is called, and practically unknown in modern day society, it is called Trayi, the science of education. That science of education, Vedic education, even is not, I would say, has yet to be introduced amongst our devotees, because it deals with 2 levels of education. Vedic education is divided into what is called academic education, means Gurukula, for primarily Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, and then non-academic education, which is skill-based education, which is connected actually with the activities in village especially. You'll understand, because the other 2 sciences, the third of these 4 sciences is called Dandaniti, the science of governance, or the science of politics. Because to organize society, whether it's a village or a nation, you need to have people trained in what is called Kshatriyahood, right? And the 4th science is called Varta. Varta means the science of economics and Vedic economics. What is Vedic economy? Vedic economy is defined in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. Krishi Gorakshabanijam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam, means natural agriculture and cow protection. In the 7th canto, we read this verse from the 7th canto. In those verses, in those chapters, Narada Muni explains that actually the majority of householders are meant to meet their different necessities of life through agriculture. If we look at what is taking place in the world today, we are, due to industrialization and mechanization, we become more and more urbanized. More and more people are living in big cities around the world. We have disconnected ourselves with actually some of the, not some, practically all, of the basic principles that make up Vedic culture. So, Grandfather Bhishmadev also speaks about 3 gifts of nature that are also fundamental to recreate to re-establish our Vedic villages. In other words, one of our goals and objectives as a society is to rebuild, establish Vedic villages. And there are three basic components to Vedic life. And most of us who are living in cities, whether we are devotees or non-devotees, we are disconnected largely with these three, with what Grandfather Bhishmadev describes as three gifts of nature. The three gifts of nature, I think last time I was here, I spoke on this point as well, begin actually with Mother Cow. Second, Mother Bhumi, or land. And third is Mother Saraswati, or the goddess of learning. In other words, these are three mothers that are meant to be part of our daily lives. And most of us actually, we are totally disconnected with cows. Most of us are also disconnected with the lamb. I mean, if we are engaged in preaching activities in cities, no problem. But most of our devotees are not actually doing that. So, there are 5 key areas that I just want to go over briefly, and that are actually summarized in, there's a book. I mean, we started this presentation by showing a picture. This picture also happens to be on this book here, which was recently put together. This booklet actually has these 5 seminars compiled in one booklet to make it easier. And I'm just presenting to you the 5 main areas that are being discussed here. So kindly, they're coming up on the board here. It's very important for all of us. There's another book called Speaking About Varnashrama. I'm not sure if we have it here, but let's just go through this first. There's a need for all of us to deepen our understanding of the whole philosophy of Varnashrama Dharma as presented especially by our more recent acharyas. You know, Srila Prabhupada, 2 weeks before leaving his body in Vrindavan, he could hardly move, he could hardly speak. He was thinking about the unfortunate condition of the living entities in Kali Yuga, mentioning how vast majority of people, and it's still very much the situation today, are totally under the influence of Tamagun and Rajagun. And in order to at least bring them to the higher level of goodness, which is actually our doorway to take up spiritual life. If we are not in the mode of goodness, generally it's more difficult to take up spiritual life. Therefore, Prabhupada was telling to bring these people from these lower levels of the modes of nature, we need to introduce Varnashrama. I mean, Prabhupada spoke about Varnashrama many years before going to the Western world until the very last. So I mentioned a few of the points. Vedic culture or Dharma, the principle of Dharma, we need to understand, exists on these 2 levels, spiritual Swadharma, material Swadharma. And Prabhupada made that point many times, that unless we follow these principles of Dharma, it's just like one famous conversation, many of you must have heard it before. Prabhupada, when he was discussing about Varnashrama with devotees, one devotee was mentioning that we are followers of Lord Chaitanya, we chant the holy name, we practice Bhakti. I mean, we're Vaishnavas. What do we have to do with Varnashram? Prabhupada immediately pointed out, it is not so easy to be Vaishnava. It is not so easy to be Vaishnava, and Prabhupada continued. by stating that in order to become Vaishnava, we must follow the principles of Daiva Varnashrama Dharma. As a matter of fact, one of the important statements made by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his many important books, Sojana Toshani, is this system created by Krishna is for the Vaishnavas in their conditioned state. Now, if we think ourselves above the conditioned state, and if we are above the conditioned state, then we may give less attention to Varnashrama, but unless we are situated on the level of Srila Haridas Thakur or Lord Chaitanya, then we need to give attention to Varnashrama. So this is the first point. There is a need for all of us. This book actually is having many of these quotes. There's another book called the Speaking about Varnashrama. We don't have a copy, huh? Yeah, we should always carry a copy of that one also. There's a compilation of all the main, most important points made by Srila Prabhupada in a book that was, I believe, published in 1999. It was actually a research commissioned by the GBC at that time in the context of Prabhupada's centennial, 1996, right? The GBC wanted to have more information about community development, and the devotees did some research, and there's that important book. I'll show it a bit later on at the end of this presentation. Let me just go through this. The second seminar, which is in this booklet here, is how both cow protection and devotee care are foundation elements for actually building a healthy Vaishnava society. We know a bit more about devotee care, but most of us are less involved. We know theoretically the importance of cow care. The point I'm trying to make is that we will not be able to properly develop this whole aspect of devotee care unless we simultaneously give more attention to cow care. And ultimately, the proper cow care can only come when we have devotees caring for cows, when we have devotees living in communities and personally, directly looking after cows. In the Bhagavatam, first canto, there are 5 living entities identified as needing special care and attention. They need special protection. And of course, if we look at what's happening in the world today, these are the 5 that are the most neglected. And there's a particular order of importance. They are presented in the following order. The first of those 5 living entities that need mostly protection are cows. Second are brahmanas. Third are women. Fourth, children. And fifth, the elders. Cows, brahmanas, that's why we chant, Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitayacha. Cows even before brahmanas, because brahmanas actually depend on cows to perform, their activities. The third theme, which is presented here, is how Srila Prabhupada prophetically, told or spoke about the downfall or the collapse of modern civilization. Now, this is something, that all of us know, the very difficult condition, the very precarious condition in which we are finding ourselves in the world today. Prabhupada spoke about this. Prabhupada spoke about Third World War. There's a lot of talk about that today especially. And there are 2 main reasons why we should be giving more attention than we have been or than we are to this aspect of Prabhupada's mission. The main reason actually is what I tried to explain a little earlier. The more closer we live according to this lifestyle, Vaishnava, or rather Vrindavan lifestyle, this helps us to more quickly, more easily advance in spiritual life. That's one, and that's the most important reason. The other reason is that if we know that the whole modern civilization is going to completely collapse because it is based on unsustainable principles, it is most artificial, and it's making everyone's life more and more hellish. Unless one is a devotee, practicing very seriously, unless one is engaged in preaching activities, only then he'll be protected from the heavy influence that is there in all of the cities around the world. I mean, it's also there, has also infiltrated, unfortunately, in our villages as well. I mean, it's all pervading. And therefore, we have like a tremendous task and responsibility to understand actually Prabhupada's mission of introducing, how to introduce Krishna consciousness. The fourth, naturally, if we know, if we understand that modern day civilization is on the verge of collapse. I mean, Prabhupada spoke about this 50 years ago. It's even more so a reality today. Then what will be, or what is meant to be, the alternative civilization? Well, that's all given in the Bhagavatam. But unless we ourselves, as devotees, begin to take it up and begin to show by example, then how others who are not having this knowledge will be able to deal even now with the very critical situation in which we find ourselves in the world today. And the fifth presentation actually is dealing with what are practical steps for every devotee. So there's a whole list of things. Obviously, we cannot go through all of these different aspects. I'm just trying to highlight that actually this book I was mentioning, commissioned by the GBC, speaking about Varnashrama, we are encouraging devotees to actually, just like here in Juhu, it used to be, probably still is, that once a week we hear a class from Srila Prabhupada, or we read from, Prabhupada Lilamrita. If we want to know about something, we read on the subject matter. Especially for new devotees, it's important to know about Srila Prabhupada, his life, his mission. So, that book is there, Prabhupada Lilamrita. If we want to know about Varnashram, we have to hear what Prabhupada spoke on the subject matter. So that book, speaking about Varnashram, I will go pretty well to the end of this presentation here, which will give you at least a picture of this book, which is available actually online. Whoops, we'll go back here. There we go. So the first book actually on the left is that original book speaking about Varnashram, compiled by Hare Krishna Dasi many years ago. And then there are other important books. The second one is called Gita Nagari. Gita Nagari is an essay. How many of you know about Gita Nagari? A few, yeah. Very important book, because in this essay Prabhupada speaks, he actually reveals his vision. I mean, it took me many years to really understand, or even to know, that Prabhupada was 10 years, right? 1956, so Prabhupada established ISKCON 1966. So Prabhupada speaks about 4 phases, 4 specific phases to introduce and spread the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, beginning with, he terms them as movements. It's like 4 movements within the greater movement. He speaks about Sankirtan movement in terms of distributing books and introducing the holy name. That's the first movement, the first step, that wherever we go to introduce Krishna consciousness, we chant the holy name, we distribute books. And that remains one central, most important aspect of our preaching activities as well. Then Prabhupada spoke about the second movement. He called it temple worship movement. Means establishing as many temples as possible so people can come and have darshan, come to know who is Krishna, isn't it? The third movement Prabhupada spoke about is spiritual initiation movement, training. It means actually congregational preaching, training new devotees, training our youth movement, Namhata preaching programs, so many different communities, preaching in the prisons, or so many different groups are there to systematically introduce the science of Krishna consciousness. And the fourth movement, Prabhupada called it classless society, which initially may not be so easy to understand. It refers to Varnashrama, specifically refers to Daiva Varnashrama. Means where all of our activities are focused and centered on serving Krishna. So even though it may seem like a material activity, every day we cook, isn't it, for Krishna? If it wasn't for Krishna, it would be ordinary material activity, but because it's connected with Krishna, it's a spiritual, devotional activity. So Daiva Varnashrama is that system, but that is teaching us what is meant to be the ideal lifestyle, actually for the vast majority of people, and it is meant to be connected once again with village lifestyle. And we are going to different temples, actually trying to introduce this idea, which is Prabhupada's idea, which is actually our Vedic idea of, if we really want to introduce Vedic culture. Prabhupada, I'll just finish on this point. There's another important book that Prabhupada wrote before going to the Western countries called Light of the Bhagavat. Who has read the Light of the Bhagavat? A few, not many. Important book. In one, there are many important statements. One of them is that those who are serious to give or to help solve the many problems of the world today must first give their attention to taking care of cows. So cow care, and our whole life is meant to be intimately, closely connected with cows as well. There are many aspects to this topic. I mentioned in the beginning, I'll repeat it now also, it's not at all an easy subject matter to fully grasp, at least immediately. But it is a subject matter that Srila Prabhupada spoke about, that he wanted us to give attention to. And the last point, Prabhupada mentioned 52 years ago, wherever we have our temples or our projects, we should immediately establish a Varnashram college where we can systematically introduce these Vedic sciences. Sorry if I'm throwing a lot of stuff in this short period of time, but I'm just trying to make the point. And there's a website, there's an app we have brought out called Divine Shelter. You're all invited to actually download this app. It's connected with this initiative of bringing more awareness amongst our devotees within our ISKCON temples, within general society as well. There are people who are not devotees who are actually promoting what is called eco-village, for example. So I will just end on this point. Kindly read the rest of the purport that we started to read a little initially. We have maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes if there's any comment or question. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Microphone.
So you mentioned in the class that devotees may think, we're chanting Hare Krishna and rendering devotional service. So what's the need for Varnashram? And Prabhupada also said, though, that not everyone will chant Hare Krishna. There's a lot of people out there that just will take time to come to that. So for them, there's Varnashram, so that they can gradually come to the process. Can you speak a little bit more about that? Or do you agree with that?
I don't. Prabhupada did not say that those who don't chant Hare Krishna, for them is Varnashram, because in that statement you are implicating, and it is a, I would say, gross misunderstanding that Varnashram is for non-devotees. Varnashram is not for non-devotees. Varnashram is for anyone who's still connected with these modes of material nature. And that understanding, I would say, is very much missing within our society. And that is why Prabhupada made the point to this devotee that in order to become Vaishnava, I mean, he was talking to a devotee who was making this statement that we are devotees, we don't have to give so much importance to Varnashram. And then that's when Prabhupada, as you rightly repeated, mentioned that it's not so easy to be a Vaishnava. Because to be a Vaishnava means to be a pure Vaishnava. And therefore, for devotees who are chanting to become pure Vaishnavas, Varnashrama is necessary. We are doing the greatest, we're doing the greatest disservice by not giving sufficient time to this 50% of Prabhupada's mission. The whole world is going to hell, and very quickly. And the only remedy, Prabhupada has told us many times, the knowledge that is contained in these books that Prabhupada has given us, especially Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we are the only ones who have access to this knowledge. But unless there are 4 things regarding books. Our Bhima Prabhu is into books, and many other devotees as well, Vaisheshika Prabhu. There are 4 things regarding books. In the early days, as you know, everyone was fired up to distribute books, so much so that they considered if you're not distributing books, you're in Maya. Prabhupada had to adjust things. So distributing books is very important, but as we know, Prabhupada one time asked, are you reading my books? So reading is also important. Distributing books, reading books, actually we should start with reading books, then distributing books. Of course, we can distribute even if we haven't read them. And then the third one is studying books. This point was made by our Radha Krishna Prabhu in Hungary a few years ago. We're talking about reading books, we're talking about distributing books, but are we sufficiently studying our books? And the fourth point I want to make, which is, I'm connecting with this presentation, are we living these books, both in terms of the spiritual aspect of spiritual Swadharma and the material level of material Swadharma? And my contention, my conclusion, my observation is that we are not. We have allowed a very major imbalance to be created within our society. We have yet to understand, and therefore unless we give more attention to what our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, has presented, then we will be ill-prepared. We are ill-prepared to face what is coming. When COVID hit 5 years ago, I will not mention the name, but one of our communities, within 1 week, one of our communities, one of our rural communities that has a lot of land, within 1 week was sending out SOS signals. Ill-prepared. We may have land, most of us actually don't have land. I'm happy to note, I heard from one of the leaders recently, Sitaram, who's very close to Juhu. He was mentioning that amongst leaders in the last maybe 1 year or so, there's a lot of serious discussion regarding every single temple, every city temple should acquire some land, even if we may not be able to develop that land right away. Let's try to understand, actually, majority of people, including the majority of devotees who are not engaged in frontline preaching, are meant to raise their families. Those who are grihastas, and the majority of our devotees are grihastas, are meant to raise their children in rural communities. Village is meant to be the standard. We are missing this point. Why? Because of the Industrial Revolution effects that continue to this day. And unless we study a little bit of history, Prabhupada spoke about this as well. Now devotees may have some different, which is fine, we may have different opinions, but my humble request and my main point is, let us try to hear directly these very important instructions, and many of those important instructions are in this book, which is available. We sent a whole bunch of books. They're available. Where's the book table? Okay, so the book table is right behind here. Devotees are invited. Any other quick comment, question? Mike? This will be the last one because time never stops. Yes.
So for this Varnashram Dharma, the village lifestyle is means village type lifestyle is mandatory, or means why in urban lifestyle it is not suitable?
If I understand your comment or question, yes, the Vedic norm, what is a more natural, simple, sustainable lifestyle is meant to connect all of us on a daily basis with cows, with the land, which means village life. So in other words, this is the modernity. Modern civilization is ever increasingly becoming urbanized, taking people out of villages. This is adharmic. This is not in keeping with the principles of dharma. It's not natural. It's artificial. It's not based on the principles of dharma. We are not against the concept of cities. Krishna lived in Dwarka. Hastinapur. But those are Vedic cities. We don't have such cities. If our cities can be converted into Vedic cities, Haribol. But even then, the majority of people will not be living in those cities. Majority of people are meant to live and are meant to make their living from Krishi and Goraksha. We don't understand this. Even the forefathers in America, you're from America, from the US, Benjamin Franklin, I was doing some research some few years back, he stated that actually America will remain great. They were farmers at that time. America will remain great if we keep agriculture in the forefront, which we've not done. I have all this wind coming.
Before World War II, mostly people were living on farms.
Yes.
The 5 million soldiers that participated in World War II, they're all from farms.
Yes.
They got trained up to fight in the war.
Yes.
But they were from farms.
Yes.
So are you suggesting that we have a model like the Amish, the Mennonites?
We have many things to learn from the Amish.
We got many things to learn from the village technology of India also.
Absolutely.
When the devotees down in the Belgaon farm,
yes,
they wanted to put a gurney, a stone gurney for making oil.
Yeah.
But they couldn't even find one.
Correct.
Because when people switched over to electricity,
yes,
somebody sold their gurney and their house burnt down. So then they concluded that it was bad luck to sell the gurney, so they buried him.
Yes.
And you couldn't find one. And then after a long time, they found one, but nobody knew how to use it.
Yes.
So then they went to some far-off village and found one 90-year-old man,
Correct.
and he showed them how to use the bulls, to use the gurney to make oil.
Correct.
Now in our Talasari farm, by the grace of Pavan Putra Das, we have that technique going on. From the bulls, they're making
Right.
mustard oil, coconut oil.
Ah, yes, yes. We have to find more 90-year-old people.
We need village technology.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. But we have so few devotees working on that. I will close for now. Thank you very much. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaura Pimanandi.